In Free Will, 2012, neuroscientist Sam Harris delves into the concept of free will, ultimately concluding that it does not exist. However, he emphasizes that this conclusion does not render the concepts of morality and personal choice irrelevant. Harris acknowledges that free will is deeply embedded in society and fundamental to the way civilization functions. If science were to definitively prove its non-existence, society would face severe consequences, as the concept of holding people accountable for their actions, such as punishing criminals, would lose its meaning. He recounts the story of two career burglars who violently broke into a family's home, attacking the father, raping the mother, and setting the house on fire with the children tied to their beds. When arrested, the burglars couldn't explain their sudden violent behavior, expressing regret and even attempting suicide. Harris argues that had he shared their exact genetics, upbringing, and experiences, he would have behaved similarly, as free will is an illusion. He points out that our thoughts, which seem free, emerge from an unknowable source, suggesting that what we perceive as free will is actually the result of random chance or prior causes, neither of which make us responsible for the outcomes of our actions. In other words, our decisions do not originate in our conscious minds, but instead surface within them. And because we identify with our thoughts, we assume ownership of these impulses. Harris also references experiments using functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, that show the brain can predict a person's decisions before the person consciously becomes aware of them, with a delay ranging from 700 milliseconds to 10 seconds. This suggests that our mental states, thoughts, and actions are dictated by parts of the brain we cannot control, rather than by free will. Harris concludes that, like the heart, the brain is a physical organ governed by predictable laws, and its reactions to physical states generate impulses that we mistakenly attribute to our own desires and decisions. To have complete control over our actions, we would need to be aware of every factor influencing our brain, which is impossible. Since unconscious factors shape our decisions, our actions are determined by forces beyond our awareness. Harris argues that doing what we want does not equate to exercising free will, because we cannot fully understand why we desire certain things. Our wants originate from an unknowable place within us, and none of us can explain why we feel drawn to them. We mistakenly believe that our will is separate from our neural processes, but the machinery driving our actions is inseparable from those actions themselves. Harris points out that many studies show we tend to justify our decisions by engaging in backward reasoning, selectively attributing causes to our actions. He suggests that we do this with every decision we make. While Harris acknowledges that we can attempt to shape our environment to favor certain outcomes, such as removing candy from our home to reduce consumption, he insists that the desire to eat candy remains beyond our control. Even in these situations, we are limited by our capacity to affect the world around us, and we cannot change the fundamental nature of our existence. He observes that people often spend years wanting something, like losing weight, and then suddenly find the motivation to do so. Where does this new energy come from? We cannot know, but it certainly isn't something generated by our will. Harris contemplates the implications of this perspective on free will for society. For instance, criminals could not be seen as having committed terrible acts by their own free will. Instead, they would need to be viewed with compassion, as individuals unable to resist their impulses. However, he clarifies that this view does not render systems like the criminal justice system or moral judgments meaningless. These structures remain necessary and effective, even if free will is an illusion. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy this video, leave a like and subscribe.